This is an amazing recording of President Kennedy's speech in 1963, the year he was killed, to the newspapers. He was trying to communicate to the entire nation a very important speech that the nation needs to know about today. He talks about secret societies, how we're in grave danger from a ruthless conspiracy, and he's asking the newspapers to help him expose them. Listen carefully.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings, that an announced need for increased security would be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning.
He's talking about grave danger, increased security, which we have today with the Department of Homeland Security. It's amazing how prophetic his speech is. I'm just highlighting it for you.
No. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means.
He's talking about how we are opposed around the world means this is global. It's massive. It's huge. It's ruthless. It's monolithic, meaning all connected together.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of arming by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have...
He's asking for the newspapers to help him with the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people about secret societies that have our country in grave danger, who are opposed to us around the world. And I'm going to show you in this video exactly who these secret societies are.
National security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Now, the president was confident that if he had the help of the press, that mankind could be what we were born to be, free and independent. But he did not get their help, and he was murdered, assassinated, because he was opposing the secret societies who are the international bankers who own and control the Federal Reserve. And I'm going to show you proof of what Kennedy was doing in 1963 that was in direct opposition to the Federal Reserve. Here is the picture of, in 1963, a United States note. That is what Kennedy began to do. He began to print American money authorized by our Constitution, that our Department of Treasury can make our own money. We did not need the Federal Reserve private banking company to make our own money. And because they are doing that, Kennedy was directly opposing them. And what he was doing was committing war against the Federal Reserve. And that is why they gave the orders to have him destroyed, for they knew he was about to destroy them. An amazing piece of information that I came across was that George Herbert Walker Bush was the head of the CIA at the time JFK was assassinated, meaning that the Federal Reserve and international bankers gave the orders to the CIA that they need Kennedy to be gotten rid of. And so here's the man who was in charge of the murder of one of our best presidents, who wanted to set our country free. He is a murdering criminal, and he is part of the New World Order, and we will be showing you speeches by him about the New World Order after he has taken the oath as Commander-in-Chief to support and uphold the Constitution, to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But what we're looking at right here, my friends, is we are looking at a picture of one of this nation's most deadliest domestic enemies our country has ever faced. So what happens after JFK has been assassinated? The bankers gather around and they say, you know what, we have a real good man there in George H.W. Bush, head of the CIA. He gets the job done when we ask him to take care of a problem. He does a real good job. So they decided they want to promote him to a position of higher power, and they have him run as a Republican candidate for the President of the United States. But danged if a guy named Reagan doesn't walk away with the Republican primary as the election. So they approach Reagan and they tell him, look, Mr. Reagan, you got a lot of support. You're looking real good. You stand a good chance of being the next president of the United States. Tell you what we want you to do. We'll give you all of our money and all of our support behind you. We just ask that you make our guy here, George H.W. Bush, your vice president. So candidate Reagan goes, all right, George, come on. You can be my vice president. Well, guess how long Reagan was president in his first term when John Hinckley's bullet went into his chest? It was only 69 days. He didn't even make 10 weeks when they tried to kill him. And now this is what's going to blow your mind, is the insight of a man named George Carlin. Now, an amazing man named George Carlin, who had a lot of understanding about what you are going to understand by the time you finish watching this video, is he made a speech about who these people are that control everything. And we're going to begin his short little speech here right next. Hang on.
It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The wealthy, the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. As long as it's bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the State Houses, the City Halls, they got the judges in their back pocket. And they own all the big media, all the big media companies that control just about all the news and information you get here.
So what I found out is that George Carlin's little speech about you have owners, they own you, I was a little skeptical about that. It says you think you have choices, you have no choices. I realized that he's totally right. He says the judges are in their back pocket. And then as I thought about it, I go, yes, here's John Hinckley in the center that's being arrested, and a judge came along and declared him to be incompetent to be prosecuted for the attempted murder of President Reagan. And so a judge has him taken away for psychiatric evaluation, and he's never prosecuted. And then I came across a YouTube video that explained that the night John Hinckley shot Reagan, he has a brother named Tom Hinckley, who was having dinner that night at the Bush family house, and that the Bushes and the Hinkleys are tightly knit, associated in the oil business in Texas. And then I did a little research. There is a Hinckley Oil Company. They are in the oil business, and it's all verified. It's all validated, which verifies Carlin is right. They control judges. They control everything. We think we have choices. I voted for George W. Bush. I thought I had a choice between him and John Kerry running for president as a Democrat versus a Republican. And then as I thought about it, I go, they both went to Yale. They're both members of Skull and Bones, a secret organization. So the truth is that there is a shadow government who owns and controls judges, politicians, the media, and everything, and they are the ones who are attempting to construct their new world order. And anybody who they can't manipulate and control or bribe or blackmail, they will remove them and out of their way. There's nothing they will not do to move forward with their attempt to enslave our country, which is what the Federal Reserve is doing. And I'm going to show you a little statement by John Adams, one of the founders of our country. John Adams was known for having made this statement. There are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. This country has been put into debt so deeply by the international bankers who control the Obama administration. I saw a picture of Henry Kissinger with his arm around Obama when he was like 25 in law school. They've been working with these people for decades. Obama took office, we're $6 trillion in debt. He gets out of office, we're 18 or 19 trillion in debt. That's an accumulation of over $1.5 trillion a year, of $12 trillion in 8 years. I saw a YouTube video that said the Federal Reserve has been creating $1 trillion every year in Federal Reserve notes. This is so massive to understand. At first I couldn't believe it. I go, you can't inject $1 trillion of phony pieces of paper that it said it cost them 3 cents for the paper and ink to create them. I thought you would have massive inflation. The currency would become devalued. And then I realized they were loaning it to the United States government. And through the government was actually injecting the cash into the economy. And the money was going into government jobs and government grants and giving it away for this and giving it away for that. And our country is being enslaved by debt. That's what is happening. They are the real terrorists. They are attempting to enslave the entire planet with debt. And the truth is, what Kennedy knew is that by our government creating United States notes that could be made today at an expense of 3 cents for the paper and ink, that the United States government, Department of Treasury, we, the American people, could have the richest government on the planet that would be profiting $1 trillion a year by the creating of United States notes. All we have to do is set ourselves free from the Federal Reserve banking criminals that are enslaving our country today.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which the credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN.
Here is David Rockefeller explaining in a 1994 speech to a New World Order convention. At that time, the world was not in a major crisis, but he said, in order for us to get our New World Order to move forward, we need to bring the world to a major crisis in order to get the nations to be willing to accept the New World Order. What this does is it opens your mind to understand all of the chaos going on in the world today has been intentionally caused by these wicked people who have intentionally been causing millions of people to die, causing 9/11, causing the war on terror, falsely accusing terrorists of attacking our World Trade Centers when they themselves are the ones who actually did it. I'm going to wrap this video up and explain to you in another video how the New World Order has framed our country into breaking international law so they can justify a United Nations peacekeeping forces to come into this country to enforce international law that their United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan officially declared the United States to be in violation of international law when they had George W. Bush follow their instructions to take out Saddam because he reportedly had weapons of mass destruction based on British intelligence. And so they're coming. The United Nations forces are coming into this country in a New World Order attempt to enforce international law on a nation they have officially declared to be in violation of international law. And so we, the American people, need to be prepared for war. They're coming, and they're not going to wait long. President Trump was like in a football game. Obama was the quarterback. He carried their New World Order football agenda for 8 years, and Hillary at the election was the intended receiver. And on election day, Trump intercepted their ball. He truly wants to make America great, where they're trying to take this country down. We are powerful. We are free and independent. We are heavily armed, and we are the biggest obstacle in their completing their agenda of a total New World Order global government. So it's live free or die. Fellow Americans, prepare for war. We will fight terrorism, and they are the globalists, the New World, behind the New World Order. Thanks for watching, and tune in to my next video that explains more carefully how we, the American people and our country, have been framed into breaking international law. Thanks for watching. Press the like button.